I did a training session. He had two administrative team members that answer the phones. So it was myself, my client, the doctor, and our two team members. And we did it. I was doing that virtually on Zoom. And what we did was I picked 6 calls to do that call training. I picked 4 that were good calls, and I could compliment the team members on what they did well, and then 2 that needed work. 6 calls in total. It was just a snapshot of the calls, but I picked 4 that were good, and I can compliment the team members specifically on what they did well. And then I picked 2 that needed work. By the way, there's some science behind that. That's the method I've used at LifeSmiles since '07. And notice what I'm doing there. I'm complimenting twice as much as I'm correcting. Complimenting twice as much as you're correcting. So we start with the positives, and that way the team doesn't feel beat up. They don't feel like we're using the calls as a stick, to punish them. We're simply creating an environment of constant improvement, being better tomorrow than we are today. And it's very important, doctors, that as you do your own call training, you create a safe environment for feedback and improvement. If it's all negative, this will not be a positive exercise. But it absolutely can be done in a very positive way. I've done that not only with LifeSmiles, but I've done it with our coaching clients. And I've taught them how to do this in a very positive way. Now, let's address the obvious. There's not a team member in dentistry that is interested in recording these calls. I've not met that person. Would you believe that, Naren?
I agree. I agree, Gary. Absolutely.
They don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, they might talk you out of it. Doc, I've been doing this for 20 years. I know how to answer the phone.
I mean, remember that conversation you and I had with our mutual client? He used to be a client for a long time, and then he became a coaching client. And, just thinking back, they were converting at that time around 35% of the calls. And neither the doctor nor the office manager, who have, been working together for like a couple of decades, thought there was anything wrong with how things were done.
Well, in fact, they assumed there wasn't. Gary, I've got long-term team members up front. They know what they're doing. What else do you have? What else can we work on?
Yeah.
I said, we're working on this because I have the data, and the data says not so much. And remember, data never lies. People do.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that cynically, but people lie because they have a perception of things. Perception often isn't reality, my friends. And just because
the perception might be, it's a wrong patient anyway, so they don't even count, So it's like all these things we tell ourselves.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of nuances, but call conversion is very important. Let me come back to my example. We did a session of training. We listened to the calls, provided positive feedback on the 4 that were good ones, the 2 that needed work, provided more coaching on verbal skills and what to say. We talked about, a different approach than they were using. And very quickly, it went from 25% to 62%. Mm-hmm. Now, Naren, 62% is still a B- on the report card. But can we agree that's a massive improvement over 25?
Absolutely, Gary.
In fact, 2.5 times the number of more new patients that you get by going from 25. It's a 2.5x increase. So if he was getting 20 new patients a month before at 25%, that number goes up 2.5 times. That goes up to 50 new patients a month by just going to 62%. Now, I wasn't happy to say it, so I coached the doctor on how to do those training calls himself, so he could do those. And the next round we tracked, he went from 62 to 69%. So imagine the differences, Naren, from 25% to 69%. Now, 69% isn't quite there, but very, very close to our A on the report card. And they're going to keep working on it. And I have 100% confidence that they're going to get that number above 70% based on the progress we've made so far. And so I was able to tell them, Doc, you didn't need to spend any more money on marketing, on Google paid ads or pay-per-click. You were getting the calls as it is. You just needed to convert them. And he was so thrilled with those results, and it's creating a massive difference in his practice. The money that he would have spent, if he would have kept at that 25% conversion rate, Naren, that same conversion rate would have extended into the calls that he's getting from Google paid ads. He's basically wasting a ton of money on marketing because he wasn't it's kind of like you used the analogy the other day on one of our mastermind meetings. It's kind of like you have a bucket that you're filling with water that has a hole in it. And not just a hole, but a big hole.
Exactly.
That's what was happening. And so, doctors, I have a question for you as your listeners. Are you recording your calls? Do you have the call data? Do you have your data? And do you know what's going on with call conversion? Or are you just making the assumption that, hey, we do well with that?